Okay, real talk for a sec. How many times have you been playing D&D and just totally blanked on what you did last session? Or even worse, like you contradicted yourself and suddenly, bam, there's a plot hole bigger than a Tarrasque.
Oh, I've definitely been there.
Right. It's like the ultimate facepalm moment.
Yeah.
But what if there was a way to, not just avoid those embarrassing situations, but actually make your game like way more immersive, even, more rewarding?
Absolutely. And it goes way beyond just like remembering where you left that potion of invisibility,
Totally.
I had this one time I was playing a rogue who, just on a whim, I had her steal this like totally random trinket from some shady merchant. And I just jotted it down in my notes, almost forgot about it. But sessions later, guess what? That trinket ended up being the key to this whole hidden temple, this whole side quest.
Whoa, okay, so basically taking notes can lead to epic adventures. That's awesome. And it's a perfect intro to today's deep dive. We're going to be checking out this super cool article from LitRPG Reads. It's all about the art of, you guessed it, note-taking in D&D.
Yeah, it's really packed with insights. One of the things that really jumped out at me was the stat they had. 16 distinct benefits to note-taking in D&D.
16. Okay, I'm intrigued, but also, I gotta say, I'm a little skeptical. Like, 16 benefits, that seems like a lot. Convince me. What's one benefit that would turn even a hardcore note-taking skeptic like me into a believer?
Okay. Have you ever, reread a favorite book and you suddenly notice things you missed the first time? Like foreshadowing or some cool character detail?
Yeah.
Notes can do that for your D&D games by, writing down details about the world, the NPCs you meet, even just, random conversations that seem unimportant at the time.
Right.
Well, you create this resource for yourself. You start seeing connections, patterns, opportunities that you wouldn't have even noticed otherwise.
Huh. That's actually a really cool way to put it. It's like your notes become this, custom-made guidebook for your character, right? Highlighting stuff you might miss otherwise.
Exactly. It takes you from being a passive player to an active one. And the article really emphasizes how notes can help you avoid inconsistencies and plot holes, It's about creating this solid record of what's happened so you can stay true to the story and the world you're all building together.
That totally makes sense. Especially for long campaigns, keeping track of everything can be mind-boggling. So notes are like a safety net for both the players and the DM.
For sure. And it's not just about avoiding mistakes. Notes can make you way more immersed in the game. Let's say, weeks ago, you wrote down this tiny detail about an NPC having a grudge against some noble family. And then, out of nowhere, that little piece of info becomes the key to solving a mystery, or even changes the whole direction of the campaign.
Whoa, that's wild. It's like each note is a thread, and you're weaving this epic tapestry, right? And the more detailed your notes, the richer and more alive that tapestry becomes.
Exactly. You get those aha moments that make D&D so awesome.
Okay, you're winning me over here. But where do you even begin? I mean, some people might feel intimidated by the idea of writing down every little thing.
That's where the article's breakdown of note-taking styles is super helpful. They talk about 4 player archetypes: the Minimalists, the Storyteller, the Strategist, and the Archivist. And the coolest part is there's no right way to do it. It's all about what clicks with you and your playstyle.
Okay, break it down for me. First up, we've got the Minimalist. What are they all about?
Well, the Minimalist is all about, efficiency. They keep their notes short, to the point, just the main plot points, important names, maybe a quick summary of the session. Think bullet points and keywords.
Gotcha. But isn't that kind of relying on memory, which, let's be honest, can be super unreliable? How do minimalists avoid those contradictions or forgetting stuff later on?
Yeah, that's a good point. Minimalists do lean on their memory more, that's true. But even those bare bones notes, they act as reminders for the important stuff. They might not write down every word someone says, but they'll note down, say, a promise they made to an NPC or some super important lore they learned. It's like highlighting the key parts of a textbook.
Makes sense. Quality over quantity, right?
Yeah.
Capture the stuff that really matters.
Exactly. And for some players, that's all they need to stay on track and have fun.
Okay, cool. What about the Storyteller? They sound intriguing.
Oh, the Storyteller is all about immersion. They want to capture those emotions, the motivations, all those little details that bring the story to life. Their notes might be like a personal journal written from their character's point of view, full of descriptions and sensory details, They might even sketch stuff or doodle to capture the mood of the game.
That's so cool. It's like they're creating a living, breathing document of their character, not just a boring list of what happened.
Totally. They're not just playing the game, they're living it.
All right, now for the Strategist. I'm guessing they're all about tactics and planning, right?
You got it. The strategist approaches D&D like a chess grandmaster, carefully planning their moves, analyzing the opponents. Their notes are full of enemy stats, dungeon layouts, magic item properties, anything that gives them an edge.
So for them, note-taking is less about the story and more about mastering the game itself.
Right. They're looking for patterns, weaknesses, opportunities to exploit. They might even make charts and diagrams to plan out their strategies.
Wow, that's pretty intense. And finally, we have the Archivist. I feel like this is the person who documents every single thing.
Yeah, pretty much. The Archivist is the ultimate record keeper. They write down everything. Session summaries, character backstories, world lore, NPC conversations, you name it. They're like the historians of the campaign. They might use color-coded notebooks, spreadsheets, even special note-taking apps to keep it all straight.
That's some serious dedication. So for everyone listening, think about which of these styles resonates with you. Are you a quick note-taker, a world-building fanatic, a strategic mastermind, or a detail-oriented historian?
It's all about finding what helps you connect with the game on a deeper level.
And the article even talks about like experimenting with different tools, right? Like maybe you're a bullet point minimalist or you love those journaling prompts for the Storyteller. And hey, if you're a super dedicated archivist, there's a ton of note-taking apps out there.
Oh yeah, totally. And that actually brings us to a classic debate. Digital notes versus good old-fashioned pen and paper.
It's a battle for the ages. But I have to say, the article does a great job of laying out the pros and cons of each.
Right.
Like with digital notes, you've got that amazing searchability. Imagine you need to find that one clue from weeks ago. Boom, it's right there. Plus, you can back everything up, share it with your group easily. But then again, there's just something so satisfying about writing stuff down by hand.
Totally. It's like, you're physically etching your character's story into existence. And for people who love, pretty stationery, a nice notebook can become like a treasured relic from your campaign.
Oh, absolutely. I'm kind of old school, I admit it. I love the feel of a physical notebook, how it becomes this tangible record of everything that happened. But I have to admit, the convenience of digital notes is tough to beat, especially when you need to find something specific fast or you want to share your notes with the group.
Yeah, for sure. And if anyone's curious about going digital, the article suggests a few apps that are pretty popular with D&D players, like Notion, for example. It's amazing for organizing complex info. It's like this digital binder where you can make nested pages, connect different ideas, even put in images and videos.
Oh yeah, Notion's awesome. I use it for all sorts of stuff, not just D&D. What are some of the other apps they mentioned?
Well, there's OneNote. It's known for being really flexible. You can mix text, pictures, even audio recordings. Like, imagine recording a quick voice memo to capture an NPC's accent or a dramatic moment.
Whoa, that's a really cool idea. I'm gonna have to try that. And of course, there's always Google Docs. It's perfect for when you want to collaborate with others.
Totally. If your group likes to work on notes together, Google Docs is a lifesaver. Everyone can access the document at the same time, make edits, add comments. It's like having a virtual brainstorming session.
So the bottom line is, you gotta experiment and see what fits you best. Whether you're a die-hard pen and paper person or a digital fanatic, the main thing is to have a system that helps you capture the magic of your D&D experience. We've been talking a lot about the players, but what about the DMs? The unsung heroes of every campaign. They've got a whole other set of challenges when it comes to note-taking, right?
Absolutely. Running a D&D campaign is like trying to juggle flaming torches while riding a unicycle on a tightrope.
That's an intense image.
Right. You've got all these storylines, characters, events happening at once, and you need to keep track of it all.
Yeah.
But you also have to be ready to adapt to whatever crazy things your players decide to do.
Yeah, that sounds incredibly demanding. I bet notes are essential for helping DMs stay organized and prepared.
Oh, they're absolutely crucial. The article actually talks about two types of DM notes, session prep notes and on-the-fly notes.
Okay, so session prep notes, those are all about laying the groundwork.
Right. That's where you outline the plot, design encounters, flesh out the NPCs. You're basically creating the blueprint for the campaign.
It's like a writer creating an outline for their novel before they start writing the actual chapters.
Exactly. But unlike a novelist, a DM has to deal with the unpredictable nature of players.
Oh yeah. No matter how much you plan, players will always find a way to surprise you.
It's true. They might make choices you didn't expect, uncover clues you didn't even know were there, or just go off on some wild tangent you never saw coming. And that's where on-the-fly notes are super important.
So on-the-fly notes, those are like the DM's improvisation tools?
Yeah, exactly. How you capture those unexpected moments and weave them into the story. So let's say your players decide to investigate some random shopkeeper who you didn't really develop in your prep notes. You can just quickly jot down some personality quirks, maybe a secret motivation, or even a hidden connection to the main plot.
Oh, wow, that's super clever. It's like the world is actually reacting to what the players are doing, making it feel so much more real and dynamic.
That's the idea. And the cool thing is, on-the-fly notes can lead to some of the most memorable, unexpected moments in a campaign. Something that was just a throwaway encounter can become a major plot point, or it might even spark a whole new storyline.
It's like those improv comedy shows where something totally random happens and the actors just roll with it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the article gives some specific techniques for managing that balance between planning and improvising. Like, you can use visual timelines to track the consequences of what the players do. That way, their actions have a real lasting impact on the world.
Visual timelines, huh? I like that. It's like a detective's corkboard connecting all the clues and revealing the bigger picture.
Yep. And another tip, keep separate character arc notes for each player. This way you can track their individual growth, their motivations, their relationships. It makes everyone feel like their character has a unique, important role in the story.
I never thought about doing that, but it makes so much sense. It's like each player has their own mini campaign happening within the larger story.
Exactly. And remember, even the smallest choices can have ripple effects throughout the campaign. Something that seems insignificant early on can become this huge plot point later, and it makes the players feel like their choices really matter.
That's awesome. It creates this truly interactive, memorable experience. It shows that you're paying attention to what they're doing and weaving it into the story, not just railroading them down a predetermined path.
It's amazing, right? How taking notes can turn a D&D game from just a bunch of random encounters into this, living, breathing world where everything matters and the story unfolds organically. Totally. It's like, instead of watching a movie, you're stepping right into the scene. You become part of the story.
Exactly. And speaking of stepping into the story, let's shift gears back to the players for a bit. We talked about different note-taking styles, but what are some specific things players should be writing down? What details will really level up their game, so to speak?
Well, the article's list of 16 benefits is a great place to start, but let's get practical here. I think one of the most important things is, character development. Don't just write down your stats and abilities, the numbers. Jot down how they're changing as a person. Did a recent encounter make them, more cynical? Or maybe a heroic moment awaken some hidden compassion?
Ooh, that's such a good point. It's easy to get caught up in the mechanics and forget about the heart of it all, the character's journey.
Exactly. And those notes about your character's inner world, they become super valuable when you're facing a tough decision. Will your character betray a friend to get what they want? Or will they risk everything to save a stranger? Having those notes about their past, their values, their fears, their hopes, it gives you a framework for making choices that feel true to who they are.
It's like you're building a psych profile for your character, one layer at a time. Each note reveals a new piece of the puzzle.
Exactly. And speaking of layers, don't forget about documenting your characters' relationships too, with other PCs and NPCs, who do they trust? Who gets under their skin? Who do they owe a favor to? These connections can have a huge impact on how your character acts and what motivates them.
Right. It's like that saying, no man is an island. Our characters, they exist in this web of relationships, and those relationships really shape who they are and how they move through the world.
Totally. And for those players who love diving deep into the lore and history of the game world, note-taking is like a goldmine. Write down anything that catches your attention. Legends, rumors, historical weird cultural customs, even the names of, obscure gods. You never know what tiny detail might become super important later.
It's like you're putting together a giant jigsaw puzzle, one note at a time. And sometimes those pieces fit together in ways you never expected.
That's the best part, those aha moments when you realize that some random bit of lore you wrote down weeks ago is suddenly the key to a mystery or unlocks some hidden path. That's what makes D&D so awesome. It's like the world itself is full of surprises just waiting for you to discover them.
Okay, we've covered character development, relationships, lore. But what about the more practical stuff? Inventory management, quest tracking, combat strategy. Should players be taking notes on those things too?
For sure, especially if you're more of a strategist, like we talked about. Keeping a detailed inventory makes sure you're ready for anything. Writing down quest objectives keeps you focused and on track. And noting down important stuff about fights can give you a real advantage next time you clash with those baddies. Think about it. Would a general go into battle without a map and a plan?
Probably not a good idea.
Right. And just like a general adjusts their strategy depending on the battlefield, D&D players got to be flexible too. Notes can help you keep track of changes and make sure you're always one step ahead.
I love that. And don't be afraid to get creative with your notes either. You could use bullet points for quick reference, mind maps to visualize connections, even sketches and diagrams to really bring your notes to life.
The important thing is to find what works for you and what keeps you engaged with the game.
Exactly. Your notes are like a reflection of your own personal style, your unique way of connecting with the game. So go wild, embrace the chaos, get creative, have fun with it. This has been a truly epic deep dive into D&D note-taking. I think the big takeaway here is that notes aren't just about remembering what happened. They're about making the whole experience richer, more immersive, more collaborative. They're about creating a record of your adventures that you can look back on and cherish.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And as we wrap up this episode, I want to leave you with one last thought. Don't think of your notes as just some boring record of events. See them as a tangible expression of your imagination, your connection to this amazing world, your contribution to this collaborative story you're all creating together. Your notes are proof of the power of your imagination, and they deserve to be celebrated.
Absolutely. So to all our listeners out there, grab your notebooks, your laptops, your favorite note-taking apps, whatever works for you, and get ready for some epic storytelling and unforgettable adventures. Huge thanks to LitRPG Reads and author Paul Bello for the awesome article that inspired this deep dive.
And hey, don't forget to share your own thoughts and experiences in the comments below. We'd love to hear about your favorite note-taking methods, those awesome aha moments you've had, and any tips or tricks you've picked up along the way. Happy gaming, everyone!